Here we are at the graveside of Sergeant Peter Hilgers of the 73rd Pennsylvania, only notated as P. Hilgers, but as you inform me, his first name's Peter. Tell us about his story. What brings him to Gettysburg?
Well, Sergeant Hilgers is from the 73rd Pennsylvania, which is one of the German regiments of Pennsylvania. It was raised in Philadelphia. Its members were overwhelmingly born in Germany, as what will become Germany, as Peter Hilgers is. He was born in Prussia. He married a woman from Baden back in 1857. The files include all kinds of verification in German that in fact they were legally married by a priest back in 1857. Their union was a good one. They have produced 2 children, and they seem to be living a happy life until the war broke out. And in 1861, Peter decides to enlist in the Army. He enlisted as a private, apparently showed some capability for soldiering because he gets promoted to sergeant. And here on the 1st of July, he's going to get hit twice, once in the face and once in the neck.
Oof, yikes.
Neck wounds are especially hard to deal with because you're so close to so many nerve endings and blood vessels, major blood vessels going to the head. And they just didn't really know how to deal with neck wounds very easily. If you are doing the triage and you're trying to decide who can be saved and who can't be, a bad neck wound is probably going to be written off fairly quickly. And Sergeant Hilgers is going to die of his injuries on the 5th of July. He does not survive very long. He will be buried down at the George Spangler farm initially, and of course in time his remains will be brought back here. The family back in Philadelphia has to figure out where it goes from here, and they're going to go through the process of applying for a pension. What they are able to do after a whole lot of effort is to provide that marriage license, that verification of their marriage. And whenever you had a situation where there was a marriage overseas, oftentimes the United States State Department's going to have to get involved to help resolve this. It's just not as easy as you would think it would be. When it came to the children, it was a little bit easier to prove validation. A lot of times when you're proving validation of a child's birth, you would get verification from the doctor or sometimes the midwife who helped to deliver the child. In the absence of that, sometimes you would take a sworn testimony of somebody who was probably in the next room with the father helping him pace up and down, but the deposition is always going to include the phrase, "I heard the first cries of life."
I see.
There was always a very specific phrase in here. Apparently, the Hilgers didn't have anybody like that to take a call upon, but they fell back on another expedient that was accepted. They went to the local Catholic church and they went through the baptismal records. There in the baptismal records, they found the verification that the 2 children had been baptized. And those records always included the names of the parents and all the other verification that was needed to make it work. So Mrs. Hilgers is able to get her pension that supports her, and then an additional $2 per month for the 2 children until they reach 16. A small compensation for the sacrifice here.
Right, and a brief lesson in 19th century paperwork. Excellent. Well, we'll go ahead and move just one row over and pay a visit to our next soldier.
Another German soldier.